Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another powerful and useful episode here at Code Your English. I am really happy that you are here with me today. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, then thank you so much for joining me. And if you are already part of this beautiful learning journey, welcome back once again. In this podcast, we learn English in a simple and natural way, while also talking about important life lessons that can help us grow, improve ourselves, and understand our minds better. So today, we are going to talk about something very important, something many people experience quietly every single day. Today's topic is never undermine yourself. Now, maybe you have heard this expression before, or maybe it is completely new for you. But do not worry. We will understand it together slowly and simply. When someone undermines themselves, it means they speak negatively about themselves, doubt their own abilities, or think they are less valuable than other people. Sometimes people do this without even realizing it. They say things like, "I am not smart enough. I can never do this. Others are better than me." Or, "I always fail." These sentences may sound small, but when we repeat them again and again inside our minds, they slowly become beliefs. And those beliefs can affect our confidence, our decisions, and even our future. Maybe you compare yourself with others all the time. Maybe you look at someone speaking English fluently and think, "I will never speak like that." Maybe you see other people becoming successful, and you start feeling small inside. Maybe you are afraid to speak in public because you think people will judge you. Or maybe you stop yourself before even trying, because deep inside, you already believe that you are not good enough. If you have ever felt this way, I want you to know something very important today. You are not alone. So many people smile outside, but secretly fight these thoughts inside their minds every day. Sometimes people become their own biggest critics. They are kind to friends, supportive to family members, and encouraging to others. But when it comes to themselves, they become very harsh. One small mistake makes them feel like failures. One bad experience makes them lose confidence. Slowly, they stop believing in their own potential. And the sad part is that many people live for years without realizing how much damage these negative thoughts are creating inside them. But today's podcast is not here to judge you. This podcast is here to understand you. I want this episode to feel like a calm conversation between two friends. I want you to relax, listen carefully, and think deeply about your own life. Because sometimes the problem is not that we are weak or incapable. Sometimes the real problem is that we have repeated negative thoughts to ourselves for too long. As we continue this episode together, we are going to talk about why people undermine themselves, how these thoughts affect our lives, and most importantly, how we can slowly build a healthier and stronger relationship with ourselves. You do not need to become perfect overnight. You do not need to suddenly become fearless. Growth happens slowly, step by step. And the first step is learning to stop becoming your own enemy. So wherever you are right now, take a deep breath, relax your mind, and stay with me. Because this conversation may help you see yourself in a kinder and more honest way. What does undermine yourself mean? Now let us talk more deeply about what it really means to undermine yourself. This is something many people do every single day without even noticing it. It becomes so normal in their minds that they stop realizing how harmful it is. Sometimes people think, Undermining yourself only means saying very negative things about yourself loudly in front of others. But actually, most self-undermining happens quietly inside the mind. It happens in small thoughts, small reactions, and small sentences that we repeat again and again. When you undermine yourself, you reduce your own value. You make yourself feel smaller than you really are. You start believing that your abilities, your ideas, your dreams, and even your voice are not important enough. You begin to doubt yourself before even trying something new. You may fail once, and then suddenly your mind tells you, "You see, you are not capable." Slowly, these thoughts become stronger and stronger. For example, maybe you want to improve your English speaking skills, but before you even start practicing, a voice inside your mind says, "No, I can't do this." Maybe you want to apply for a new job, but you stop yourself because you think, "Other people are smarter than me." Maybe you want to share your opinion in a conversation, but you stay silent because you believe your words are not valuable. These are all examples of undermining yourself. Sometimes people think these thoughts are harmless because they are just thoughts. But thoughts are powerful. The way you speak to yourself matters a lot. Imagine hearing the same negative sentence every day for years. Slowly, your brain starts believing it. If every day you say, "I am not good enough," eventually your confidence becomes weaker. If every day you say, "I always fail," your mind begins expecting failure before you even try. This is why self-undermining is dangerous. It changes the way you see yourself. And the difficult part is that many people do this automatically. They do not even stop to question their thoughts. They simply accept them as truth. For example, a person may make one small mistake while speaking English and immediately think, "My English is terrible." But is that really true? No. Making mistakes is a normal part of learning. One mistake does not define your abilities. Still, many people quickly attack themselves inside their minds. Sometimes undermining yourself sounds like this: "I am too weak. I am not talented. I am too late. I will never improve. People like me cannot succeed. Others are naturally better." These sentences may look simple, but they slowly destroy confidence from inside. They create fear. They stop people from trying new things. They make people avoid opportunities. In many cases, the person is not failing because they are incapable. They are failing because they already convince themselves that success is impossible. I want you to think carefully about your own life right now. How do you speak to yourself when things go wrong? What do you say inside your mind after making a mistake? Do you encourage yourself, or do you attack yourself? Many people are very patient with friends but very cruel to themselves. If a friend makes a mistake, we usually say, "It's okay, you can try again." But when we make a mistake ourselves, we say, "I am useless." Why do we do this? Why do we speak to ourselves with less kindness than we give to other people? Undermining yourself also means believing that other people are naturally more valuable than you. You may look at someone successful and immediately think, "They are special. I could never become like that." But you do not see their struggles, their failures, or the years of practice behind their success. You only see the final result and compare it with your beginning. This creates unhealthy self-doubt. Social media has made this even harder for many people. Every day we see pictures, videos, and success stories from others. We see people speaking perfect English, traveling the world, making money, or living confident lives. Then some people look at themselves and feel small. They start thinking, I am behind everyone else. But what we see online is usually only a small part of reality. Everyone has struggles that we cannot see. Sometimes people undermine themselves because of fear. They think, if I expect nothing from myself, then I cannot be disappointed. So they stop dreaming, stop trying, and stop believing in themselves. They protect themselves from failure by limiting themselves before life even gets the chance to test them. This is very sad because many talented and intelligent people never discover their full potential simply because they spent too many years doubting themselves. And here is something very important I want you to remember today. Undermining yourself does not make you humble. Some people think speaking negatively about themselves is humility. But there is a difference between being humble and disrespecting yourself. Humility means understanding that you are still learning. But self-undermining means believing you have no value. Those are completely different things. You do not need to believe that you are perfect. Nobody is perfect. You do not need to think you are better than everyone else, but you should learn to respect yourself. You should learn to recognize your effort, your progress, and your ability to grow. Confidence does not mean saying, I can do everything perfectly. Real confidence means saying, I may struggle, but I can learn. So as you listen to this episode today, I want you to start noticing your inner voice. Pay attention to the way you speak to yourself every day. Notice those small negative sentences that appear automatically inside your mind. Because sometimes the biggest problem in our lives is not other people. Sometimes the biggest problem is the negative story we keep repeating to ourselves again and again. And the good news is this: if thoughts can weaken you, thoughts can also strengthen you. The way you speak to yourself can change slowly. Your mindset can improve. Your confidence can grow. But first, you must become aware of how often you undermine yourself without realizing it. Why do people undermine themselves? Now let us talk about something very important. Why do people undermine themselves? Why do so many people doubt their abilities, speak negatively about themselves, and lose confidence so easily? Most of the time, this does not happen suddenly. Self-doubt usually grows slowly over many years. It is often connected to experiences, words, and situations that affect the mind deeply. Many people are not even born with low confidence. They slowly learn it from life experiences. For some people, self-doubt begins during childhood. Childhood is a very sensitive time because children believe many things they hear from adults. A child does not fully understand how to protect their emotions yet. So when they hear negative words again and again, those words can stay inside the mind for many years. For example, maybe a teacher once said, "You are not smart enough." Maybe someone laughed when the child answered incorrectly in class. Maybe parents compared them with another brother, sister, or student and said, "Why can't you be like them?" Even small comments can create deep emotional effects. Sometimes adults do not realize how powerful their words are. A child may hear criticism many times and slowly begin believing it. If someone constantly hears, "You are lazy," "You are weak," or "You are not talented," eventually the child may stop believing in themselves completely. Then later, as an adult, that same person continues repeating those negative ideas inside their own mind. The outside criticism slowly becomes inner criticism. For many people, comparison is another major reason for self-undermining. From a young age, people are often compared with others. Maybe parents compare grades. Maybe society compares success, money, beauty, or intelligence. Slowly, people begin feeling that their value depends on being better than someone else. This creates pressure and insecurity. Instead of focusing on personal growth, people begin measuring themselves against everyone around them. Imagine a student learning English. They may be improving slowly and doing well, but then they hear another student speaking more fluently. Suddenly, they stop noticing their own progress and start thinking only about what they lack. Their mind says, "I will never become that good." In this moment, comparison steals their confidence. Instead of feeling motivated, they feel smaller. Social media has made this problem even bigger today. Every day, people open their phones and see perfect pictures, successful people, luxury lifestyles, confident speakers, and exciting achievements. After watching these things again and again, some people start feeling like they are falling behind in life. They begin thinking, "Everyone is doing better than me." But what many people forget is that social media usually shows only the best moments of someone's life. It does not show loneliness, fear, failure, stress, or struggle behind the scenes. Many people compare their real life to another person's highlights. This creates unrealistic expectations. A person may feel unhappy simply because they think everyone else is happier, smarter, richer, or more successful. Slowly, this creates self-doubt and emotional pressure. The person begins undermining themselves without realizing it. Fear of failure is another powerful reason why people doubt themselves. Some people are so afraid of failing that they stop trying completely. They think, "If I fail, people will judge me." Or they think, "What if I embarrass myself?" So instead of taking action, they avoid opportunities. But the problem is that avoiding challenges slowly weakens confidence even more. For example, maybe someone wants to speak English publicly, but they fear making mistakes, so they stay silent every time. At first, this feels safer, but after some time, the silence creates more fear. The person begins believing, "I cannot speak well." In reality, they never gave themselves enough practice. Fear stopped them before growth could happen. Bad past experiences can also deeply affect self-confidence. Sometimes one painful experience changes the way people see themselves. Maybe someone failed an important exam once. Maybe they were rejected from a job interview. Maybe they tried something important and did not succeed. Instead of seeing the experience as one temporary failure, they turn it into a permanent identity. They stop saying, "I failed once," and start saying, "I am a failure." This is very dangerous because failure is a normal part of life. Every successful person has failed many times. But when someone already struggles with confidence, one bad experience can become emotional proof inside their mind. Their brain remembers the pain and tries to protect them from future disappointment. So the next time an opportunity appears, the mind immediately says, "Don't try. You will fail again." Sometimes friends, classmates, or other people also affect confidence deeply. Maybe someone laughed when you made a mistake. Maybe people mocked your pronunciation while learning English. Maybe someone made you feel embarrassed in front of others. Even if those moments lasted only a few seconds, emotional pain can stay inside for years. After that, the person may become more quiet, more afraid, and less confident. What makes this even harder is that many people hide these feelings. Outside, they may look normal or even confident, but inside, they constantly question themselves. They overthink small mistakes, they fear judgment, they doubt their abilities, and because many people do not openly talk about these feelings, others begin thinking they are alone in this struggle. But the truth is that millions of people experience self-doubt. Many people silently fight negative thoughts every day. Even successful people sometimes struggle with insecurity. Confidence is not something people are simply born with forever. It is something affected by experiences, environments, relationships, and thoughts over time. And this is something very important to understand. Self-doubt usually grows slowly. It is often built little by little through years of criticism, fear, comparison, and painful experiences. This means low confidence is not proof that you are weak or incapable. It simply means your mind learned certain beliefs over time. The good news is that learned beliefs can also change. Just as negative experiences can slowly weaken confidence, positive habits and healthier thinking can slowly rebuild it. But before change happens, we must first understand where these feelings come from. We must stop blaming ourselves for every insecurity and begin understanding our emotional history more honestly. So if you sometimes undermine yourself, please remember this. There is usually a reason behind it. Maybe life made you doubt yourself slowly. Maybe painful experiences affected your confidence deeply. Maybe criticism stayed inside your mind for too long. But understanding the reason is the first step toward healing, growth, and self-respect. The hidden damage of undermining yourself. Now let us talk about the hidden damage of undermining yourself. Many people think negative self-talk is something small and harmless. They think saying things like, "I am not good enough," or "I cannot do this," is normal. Some people even joke about themselves in negative ways all the time. But what many people do not realize is that these thoughts slowly affect every part of life. The damage is often quiet and invisible in the beginning, but over time it becomes very serious. One of the biggest effects of undermining yourself is that it destroys confidence. Confidence is not only about speaking loudly or looking strong outside. Real confidence is the belief that you are capable of learning, growing, improving, and handling challenges. But when a person constantly speaks negatively to themselves, that belief slowly becomes weaker. The mind begins expecting failure before even trying. Imagine a student sitting in a classroom. The teacher asks a question, and the student actually knows the answer. But immediately, a thought appears inside the mind. What if my answer is wrong? What if people laugh at me? Maybe I am not smart enough. So the student stays silent. Later, another student gives the same answer correctly. At that moment, the quiet student feels even worse. This is how self-undermining slowly steals confidence. The person had knowledge, but fear stopped them from expressing it. This kind of negative thinking also creates fear. The more people doubt themselves, the more afraid they become of making mistakes. Slowly, they begin avoiding situations that challenge them. They stop taking risks. They stop trying new things. They choose comfort instead of growth, because their mind keeps telling them that failure is dangerous. For example, maybe someone wants to apply for a good job. They see the opportunity online and feel excited for a moment. But then, negative thoughts begin. I am probably not qualified. Other people are better than me. I will fail the interview. Without even trying, they decide not to apply. Now think carefully about this situation. Did they truly fail? No. They removed themselves from the opportunity before life even tested them. This is one of the saddest effects of self-undermining. People reject themselves before the world rejects them. Many people also stay silent in conversations because of low self-belief. Maybe they have good ideas, interesting thoughts, or valuable opinions, but they keep everything inside. They think their words are not important enough. They fear judgment from others, so they become quiet, even when they want to speak. This happens a lot with English learners too. Some people understand English well, but they avoid speaking because they are afraid of making mistakes. They worry too much about pronunciation, grammar, or how they sound. Because of this fear, they practice less. And because they practice less, improvement becomes slower. Then their mind says, "See, you are not improving." This creates a painful cycle. Negative self-talk does not only affect confidence, it also affects emotional health. Constant self-criticism creates stress and anxiety inside the mind. When people repeatedly tell themselves negative things, their brain stays in a state of fear and pressure. They overthink everything. Small mistakes feel huge. Simple situations become emotionally exhausting. For example, some people replay conversations in their minds again and again after talking to others. They think, "Why did I say that? Maybe I sounded stupid. Maybe people judged me." This kind of overthinking creates mental exhaustion. The person becomes trapped inside their own thoughts. Instead of enjoying life naturally, they constantly criticize themselves internally. Over time, this emotional pressure can also affect relationships. A person who constantly undermines themselves may struggle to accept compliments. If someone says, "You did a great job," they immediately answer, "No, no, it was nothing." Deep inside, they truly cannot believe positive things about themselves. Sometimes low self-worth also makes people accept unhealthy treatment from others. When someone secretly believes they are not valuable, they may tolerate disrespect, toxic friendships, or unfair treatment because they feel they do not deserve better. This is another hidden damage of self-undermining. It changes the standards people have for their own lives. And perhaps one of the biggest tragedies is that self-undermining stops growth. Growth requires action, mistakes, learning, and courage. But when a person constantly doubts themselves, they avoid the very experiences that could help them grow stronger. Think about how many dreams disappear because of fear and self-doubt. Some people want to start businesses but never try. Some want to learn skills but give up too early. Some want to speak confidently but stay silent for years. Some want to travel, create content, change careers, or improve their lives, but they keep telling themselves, "I can't." The painful truth is that many limitations are not outside us. They are inside the mind. Of course, life has real challenges, but often the biggest obstacle is the negative voice constantly repeating fear, doubt, and criticism. A person may have talent, intelligence, kindness, and potential, but if they do not believe in themselves, those qualities remain hidden. And the dangerous part is that self-undermining becomes normal over time. Some people have spoken negatively to themselves for so many years that they think it is simply their personality. They no longer question their inner voice. They believe every negative thought automatically. They think confidence belongs only to other people. But confidence is not something magical that only a few lucky people receive. Confidence grows when people stop attacking themselves every day. It grows when people give themselves permission to learn slowly, fail sometimes, and improve step by step. I want you to think about your own life honestly for a moment. How many opportunities have you avoided because you doubted yourself? How many times have you stayed silent when you wanted to speak? How many dreams have you delayed because fear convinced you that you were not capable enough? These questions are important because self-undermining does real damage. It affects careers, relationships, learning, mental peace, confidence, and personal growth. It slowly limits the life a person could have lived. But there is also hope in understanding this, because once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin changing them slowly. You can begin questioning that negative inner voice instead of blindly believing it. You can start replacing self-criticism with self-respect. You can stop becoming your own biggest obstacle. And maybe this is one of the most important lessons in today's episode. Many people are not losing against life itself. They are losing against the negative voice inside their own minds. Once you begin changing that relationship with yourself, many things in life can slowly begin changing too. The voice inside your mind matters. Now let us talk about something that quietly affects every part of our lives. The voice inside our minds. Every person has an inner voice. Even right now, while listening to this podcast, you probably have thoughts reacting to these words. Sometimes that inner voice encourages us, but sometimes it criticizes us, doubts us, and makes us feel weak. Many people pay attention to the words spoken by others, but they forget that the most powerful conversations often happen silently inside their own minds. The way you speak to yourself matters more than many people realize. Your brain listens carefully to repeated thoughts. If you repeat something again and again, slowly your mind begins accepting it as truth. This is why negative self-talk becomes dangerous over time. A single negative thought may not seem important, but when the same thought repeats every day, it slowly shapes your beliefs, emotions, and actions. For example, imagine someone who constantly says, "I am not smart enough." At first, it may feel like only a small emotional reaction. But after repeating this thought for months or years, the person begins truly believing it. Then that belief starts affecting behavior. They stop trying difficult things. They avoid challenges. They become afraid of failure. Slowly, the thought changes the direction of their life. The same thing happens with many English learners. Some learners repeat sentences like, "My English is terrible," "I can never speak fluently," or "I always make mistakes." After some time, these thoughts create fear and embarrassment. The learner becomes nervous while speaking. They avoid conversations. They lose confidence before even practicing properly. In many cases, the biggest problem is not their actual English level. The biggest problem is the negative voice inside their mind. Words are powerful because they affect emotions, and emotions affect actions. If your inner voice constantly tells you that you are weak, incapable, or behind everyone else, you will probably feel anxious, discouraged, and unmotivated. But if your inner voice becomes more supportive and balanced, your emotions slowly change too. This does not mean you should lie to yourself or pretend life is always perfect. Positive thinking is not about ignoring problems. It is about speaking to yourself in a healthier and more realistic way. Instead of saying, I will never improve, you can say, I am improving slowly. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you can say, I can learn step by step. Instead of saying, mistakes mean I am a failure, you can remind yourself, mistakes help me grow. These small changes may sound simple, but they are powerful. They create a different emotional environment inside the mind. They reduce fear and create patience. They help people continue trying instead of giving up too early. Think about how children learn to walk. They fall many times, but nobody says, you failed, so stop trying. Falling is accepted as part of learning. Slowly, through repetition and patience, the child learns to walk. But as adults, many people forget this lesson. They expect themselves to become perfect immediately. When they struggle, they attack themselves mentally instead of giving themselves time to improve. The brain responds strongly to repetition. If every day you repeat negative thoughts, your brain becomes trained to focus on weakness, fear, and failure. But if every day you practice healthier thoughts, your brain slowly becomes more supportive and hopeful. This is why your inner dialogue is so important. Some people spend years being their own worst critics. Even after doing something well, they focus only on mistakes. Even after making progress, they still feel not good enough. This constant self-criticism creates emotional exhaustion. It becomes difficult to feel peace inside the mind. Imagine living with someone who insults you every day. Eventually, you would feel tired, sad, and discouraged. But many people do this to themselves internally every single day without realizing it. Their own mind becomes an unfriendly place. That is why learning to speak to yourself with kindness is not weakness. It is emotional strength. Encouraging yourself does not make you arrogant. It helps you grow. People often improve more when they feel supported than when they feel constantly attacked. So I want you to start paying attention to your inner voice after listening to this episode. Notice the words you repeat to yourself during difficult moments. Notice what happens inside your mind after mistakes, failures, or embarrassing situations. Do you speak to yourself with patience, or do you immediately become harsh and negative? Remember, your mind is always listening. The sentences you repeat today slowly become the beliefs you carry tomorrow, and those beliefs shape the way you live your life. So try speaking to yourself differently. Slowly replace harsh thoughts with healthier ones. You do not need fake perfection. You simply need a more supportive relationship with yourself. Tell yourself, I am learning. Tell yourself, I am improving slowly. Tell yourself, mistakes are part of growth. These words may seem small, but repeated over time, they can begin changing the way you feel, think, and live. And perhaps one of the most important things to remember is this: the voice inside your mind should not become your enemy. It should become a place where growth, patience, and self-respect can slowly grow stronger every day. Stop comparing yourself to others. Now let us talk about one of the biggest reasons people lose confidence and undermine themselves: comparison. Many people suffer emotionally not because they are failing in life, but because they are constantly comparing their lives with other people's lives. Comparison can quietly steal happiness, confidence, peace, and motivation. It can make a person feel small, even when they are actually growing and improving. The truth is that every person has a different journey in life. People grow at different speeds. Some people learn skills faster. Some people face harder challenges. Some people receive support early in life, while others must struggle alone for many years. Life is not the same for everyone. But many people forget this and begin measuring their value by looking at others. For example, maybe you are learning English right now. You practice every day. You listen to podcasts, and you are slowly improving. But then you hear someone speaking English very fluently. Suddenly your mind says, "My English is terrible." Instead of feeling proud of your progress, you begin focusing only on what you still cannot do. This is how comparison damages self-worth. Another person may compare money and success. Maybe they see a friend getting a better job, buying expensive things, or traveling to many countries. Slowly, they begin thinking, "I am behind in life." They stop appreciating their own efforts and begin feeling pressure, sadness, and insecurity. But what they do not see are the hidden struggles behind another person's success. Some people compare appearance. Others compare relationships, careers, confidence, intelligence, or social skills. The problem is that comparison usually focuses only on what others seem to have, while completely ignoring personal progress and personal reality. Social media has made this problem much stronger today. Every day, people open their phones and see carefully selected moments from other people's lives. They see beautiful pictures, success stories, happy moments, expensive lifestyles, and confident personalities. After watching these things again and again, many people begin feeling like everyone else is happier and more successful than them. But social media rarely shows the full truth. People usually share their best moments, not their fears, failures, loneliness, stress, or painful struggles. A person may smile in a photo while secretly feeling exhausted inside. Another person may look successful online while struggling emotionally in real life. But when we compare our complete reality to someone else's best moments, we create unfair pressure inside our minds. Comparison also creates sadness because it teaches people to focus on what they lack instead of what they already have. Imagine climbing a mountain slowly. You are making progress step by step, but instead of looking at how far you have already come, you keep looking at someone who is higher than you. Eventually, you stop feeling proud of your journey. You only feel not good enough. This mindset becomes very dangerous because no matter how much a person achieves, there will always be someone who appears more successful, more talented, richer, or more confident. If your happiness depends on being better than everyone else, you will never feel truly satisfied. Many people do not realize how deeply comparison affects emotional health. It creates pressure to become perfect. It creates fear of falling behind. It creates insecurity and self-doubt. Some people even stop enjoying their own lives because they are too busy watching other people's lives. And here is something very important to understand. Growth is personal. Your journey is your own. Your pace is your own. Your struggles are your own. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to become a stronger, healthier, and wiser version of yourself. Think about this carefully. Maybe last year you were too afraid to speak English at all, but today you can understand podcasts and speak simple sentences. That is progress. Maybe you are more emotionally strong than before. Maybe you are more disciplined, more patient, or more self-aware than you used to be. These changes matter, even if they happen slowly. Real growth often looks small in daily life. It happens step by step. But comparison makes people ignore these important improvements. Instead of celebrating progress, they criticize themselves for not moving faster. That is why one of the healthiest habits you can build is this: compare yourself only with your past self. Look at who you were before. Notice how much you have learned, survived, and improved over time. This kind of comparison creates motivation instead of sadness. Ask yourself questions like, am I growing? Am I learning? Am I stronger than before? These questions are much healthier than asking, why am I not like them? Remember, life is not a competition where everyone must arrive at the same place at the same time. People have different starting points, different opportunities, different pain, and different paths. Some people bloom early, others bloom later. But slow growth is still growth. So the next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, pause for a moment. Remind yourself that you are seeing only a small part of their story. Then return your attention to your own journey, your own effort, and your own progress. Because peace begins to grow when you stop competing with everyone around you and start appreciating the person you are slowly becoming. Your mistakes do not define you. Now let us talk about something that many people fear deeply: mistakes and failure. So many people undermine themselves because they believe that making mistakes means they are weak, incapable, or not good enough. Some people carry shame from old failures for many years. They replay embarrassing moments inside their minds again and again. But today, I want you to understand something very important. Your mistakes do not define you. Every human being makes mistakes. Every single person. There is no successful person in the world who has lived a perfect life without failure, embarrassment, confusion, or disappointment. Mistakes are not proof that you are useless. They are proof that you are human and that you are trying. The problem is that many people have an unhealthy relationship with failure. Instead of seeing mistakes as part of growth, they see mistakes as personal proof that they are not capable. For example, maybe someone fails one interview and immediately thinks, "I will never get a good job." Maybe someone speaks incorrect English in public once and then becomes too embarrassed to speak again. Maybe someone tries something new, struggles in the beginning and quickly decides, "This is not for me." But learning does not happen without mistakes. In fact, mistakes are often the place where real learning begins. Think about children learning to walk. They fall again and again. Nobody expects them to walk perfectly on the first day. Falling is accepted as a natural part of learning. But when adults make mistakes, many become harsh and impatient with themselves. This happens a lot with English learners. Some learners become afraid of pronunciation mistakes. They worry about grammar. They fear that other people may laugh at them. Because of this fear, they avoid speaking. But how can someone improve speaking without speaking? Mistakes are not blocking learning. Fear of mistakes is blocking learning. Sometimes a person may pronounce a word incorrectly in public and feel embarrassed. Then for days they keep thinking about that small moment. Their mind says, "Everyone noticed. I sounded stupid." Or, "I should stay quiet next time." But most people around them probably forgot the moment very quickly. The real damage comes from the negative meaning the person gives to the mistake. Failure can also become emotionally painful because people often connect their identity to one bad experience. Instead of saying, "I failed this time," They start saying, "I am a failure." This small difference in language is very important. One sentence describes an event. The other sentence attacks the person's entire identity. Imagine someone failing a job interview. Of course, it can feel disappointing. Rejection is never easy. But one interview does not decide a person's future. One difficult moment does not decide someone's value, intelligence, or potential. Sometimes people succeed later precisely because earlier failures taught them important lessons. Mistakes can become teachers if we allow ourselves to learn from them instead of hating ourselves because of them. Failure often teaches patience, preparation, emotional strength, and self-awareness. Some lessons can only be learned through experience. This does not mean failure feels pleasant, but it means failure can still be useful. The sad part is that many people stop themselves from growing because they fear looking imperfect. They wait until they feel fully confident before trying something. But confidence usually comes after practice, not before it. If people avoid every situation where mistakes are possible, they also avoid growth. Think about how many opportunities people lose because of fear. Some people never start businesses because they fear failure. Some never speak publicly because they fear embarrassment. Some never practice English conversations because they fear mistakes. Some never follow dreams because they fear disappointment. But living in constant fear of mistakes creates another kind of failure: the failure to fully live and grow. And here is something very important to remember. One mistake cannot decide your future unless you allow it to stop you completely. A bad moment is temporary. A difficult experience is temporary. Embarrassment is temporary. But growth becomes possible when people continue trying despite imperfection. You do not need to become fearless overnight. You do not need to suddenly stop caring about mistakes completely. But you can begin changing the way you respond to them. Instead of attacking yourself after every failure, try asking healthier questions. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I improve next time? What small step can I take now? This kind of thinking creates growth instead of shame. Remember, people who improve in life are not people who never fail. They are people who continue learning after failure. They understand that mistakes are part of the journey, not the end of the journey. So if you are carrying shame from past mistakes, I want you to breathe for a moment and remember this. Your worst moment is not your entire identity. One interview, one wrong sentence, one embarrassing experience, or one failure does not decide who you are. You are still learning. You are still growing. You are still becoming stronger. And maybe one day, the mistakes that once made you feel weak will become the experiences that helped you grow into a wiser, braver, and more confident person. Small confidence is still confidence. Now let us talk about confidence. Many people think confidence is something big, powerful, and natural. They look at confident people and imagine that those people were simply born different. They think confidence appears suddenly like magic. But the truth is much simpler and much more hopeful than that. Confidence is usually built slowly, step by step, through small actions repeated over time. This is important to understand because many people become discouraged too quickly. They expect themselves to become confident immediately. When they still feel nervous, shy, or afraid, they think something is wrong with them. But confidence does not grow in one day. It grows through practice, patience, and experience. Think about learning English. Maybe today you can only speak one simple sentence confidently. That may seem very small to you, but it matters. Speaking one sentence is still progress. Maybe you asked one question in English today even though you felt nervous. That is also progress. Maybe you shared one opinion during a conversation instead of staying silent. That matters too. Small confidence is still confidence. The problem is that many people ignore their small victories because they only focus on perfection. They think, I still make mistakes, or I am not fluent yet, so they feel disappointed. But real growth happens in small moments. Every time you try again, every time you speak despite fear, every time you continue learning instead of quitting, you are slowly building confidence. Imagine a person who is afraid of public speaking. The first time they speak in front of others, maybe their voice shakes. Maybe they feel nervous. Maybe they only speak for 1 minute. But that 1 minute matters. It is evidence that they are trying. Then, little by little, with practice, they become stronger. Confidence grows through repetition. This is why confidence is not magic. It is practice. Many confident people were once afraid too. The difference is that they continued practicing even when they felt uncomfortable. They did not wait to feel ready before taking action. They understood that action itself creates confidence. Sometimes people think they must become fearless before they start something new. But usually confidence comes after starting, not before. A person becomes more confident in speaking by speaking. A person becomes more confident socially by having conversations. A person becomes more confident in learning by continuing to learn. And here is something very important. Small progress is real progress. Never disrespect your own improvement just because it looks small. A small step forward is still movement. A person who improves slowly is still improving. Sadly, many people are very hard on themselves. They achieve something small, but instead of feeling proud, they say, "It's nothing." Over time, this mindset weakens motivation. If you never recognize your effort, your mind begins feeling that progress is useless. That is why celebrating small wins is important. You do not need to celebrate in a big or dramatic way. Simply notice your growth. Notice your effort. Respect the small things you are doing every day. Maybe today you practiced English for 20 minutes even though you felt tired. That matters. Maybe today you spoke a little more confidently than yesterday. That matters too. Maybe today you faced a fear instead of avoiding it. That is important. Confidence grows when people stop waiting to become perfect and start appreciating small progress. Little by little, these small moments create a stronger mindset. So I want you to remember this after listening to today's episode. Do not ignore your small victories. Do not underestimate your slow growth. Confidence is not built in giant moments. It is built quietly through small actions repeated again and again. And every time you try, every time you continue, and every time you refuse to give up on yourself, you are becoming stronger than you were before. Speak to yourself like a friend. Now, let us talk about something many people forget to do. Speaking to themselves with kindness. This may sound simple, but it is actually very powerful. Many people spend their whole lives being supportive, patient, and understanding with others, but very harsh with themselves. They comfort friends during difficult times, Encourage family members after mistakes, and speak gently to people they care about. But when they themselves make a mistake, the kindness suddenly disappears. Think about this carefully for a moment. If your friend was learning English and made a pronunciation mistake, would you say, "You are hopeless? Stop trying"? Probably not. Most likely, you would say, "It's okay. Keep practicing. You are improving." If your friend failed an interview, you would probably encourage them and remind them that one failure does not decide their future. So why do many people speak to themselves in such a cruel way? This is an important question to ask yourself. Would you speak to your friend the same way you speak to yourself? Many people carry a very harsh inner voice. After every mistake, they insult themselves mentally. After every failure, they lose respect for themselves. They think being hard on themselves will somehow make them stronger. But constant self-criticism often creates emotional exhaustion instead. The truth is that self-respect changes mental strength. When people learn to treat themselves with more patience and understanding, they often become emotionally stronger, not weaker. Gentle words create emotional healing. They create safety inside the mind. And a peaceful mind usually learns and grows better than a fearful one. This does not mean you stop improving or stop taking responsibility for your actions. Self-kindness is not laziness. It simply means you stop attacking yourself for being human. It means understanding that growth takes time. It means allowing yourself to learn slowly, without feeling ashamed all the time. Many people believe they must become perfect before they deserve kindness. But nobody grows perfectly. Everyone struggles sometimes. Everyone feels confused sometimes. Everyone makes mistakes. You deserve patience, even while you are still improving. That is why the words you say to yourself matter so much. Small sentences repeated daily slowly shape your emotional world. Imagine beginning to replace harsh thoughts with more supportive ones. Instead of saying, "I am so stupid," you can say, "I am learning." Instead of saying, "I will never improve," you can remind yourself, "I am trying my best." Instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" you can say, "I deserve patience while I grow." These sentences may sound simple, but over time they create a healthier relationship with yourself. They reduce shame. They reduce fear. They help you continue moving forward instead of giving up completely after small failures. And here is something very important to remember. People often grow faster when they feel emotionally supported. Imagine trying to learn something while someone constantly insults you every day. It would feel exhausting. But many people do this to themselves internally all the time. Their own mind becomes a stressful place. That is why learning self-compassion is important. Self-compassion means understanding your pain without hating yourself for it. It means recognizing your struggles while still believing in your ability to grow. It means becoming a friend to yourself instead of becoming your own enemy. So today, I want you to pause and think honestly about the way you speak to yourself every day. Why are you so hard on yourself? Why do you expect perfection from yourself while accepting imperfection in everyone else? You are still learning. You are still growing. You are still becoming stronger. And during this journey, you deserve kindness too. So speak to yourself more gently. Encourage yourself more often. Be patient with your progress. Because sometimes healing begins the moment we stop fighting ourselves and start treating ourselves with the same compassion we freely give to others. Practical ways to stop undermining yourself. Now let us talk about something practical and important. How to stop undermining yourself in daily life. Understanding self-doubt is helpful, but real change begins when we start building healthier habits little by little. The good news is that you do not need to change your whole life overnight. Small daily actions can slowly change the way you think, feel, and speak to yourself. The first step is learning to notice your negative thoughts. Many people undermine themselves automatically without even realizing it. The thoughts appear so quickly that they feel normal. For example, maybe you make one small mistake and immediately think, "I am terrible at this." Or maybe you see someone successful and think, "I will never become like them." Before changing these thoughts, you must first become aware of them. Try paying attention to the sentences you repeat most often inside your mind. Notice how you speak to yourself during difficult moments. Awareness is powerful because once you notice a negative pattern, you can begin changing it slowly. The next step is replacing harmful words with more supportive words. This does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It simply means speaking to yourself in a healthier and more balanced way. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," try saying, "I can learn slowly." Instead of saying, "I always fail," remind yourself, "I am still improving." Small changes in language can slowly create big emotional changes inside the mind. Another helpful habit is writing down small achievements. Many people focus only on their problems and completely ignore their progress. Your mind needs reminders that you are growing. At the end of the day, try writing one good thing about yourself or one small thing you did well. Maybe you practiced English for 20 minutes. Maybe you faced a fear. Maybe you stayed patient during a difficult situation. Small achievements still matter. It is also important to avoid toxic comparison as much as possible. Constantly comparing yourself to others creates pressure and sadness. Remember, people show only part of their lives to the world. Everyone has struggles that others cannot see. Instead of asking, "Why am I not like them?" try asking, "Am I improving compared to my past self?" This kind of thinking creates healthier motivation. The people around you also affect your mindset. Spending time with positive and supportive people can help you grow emotionally stronger. But if you constantly spend time with people who insult, discourage, or disrespect you, your confidence may slowly become weaker. Healthy environments matter. Encouraging words matter. Another important thing is learning slowly without putting too much pressure on yourself. Many people become frustrated because they expect fast results. They want perfect English quickly, perfect confidence quickly, or perfect success quickly. But real growth takes time. Learning slowly is still learning. Progress that happens step by step is still progress. Practicing gratitude can also help change your mindset. When people constantly focus only on what they lack, they feel emotionally empty. But gratitude helps the mind notice what is already good in life. Every day, try thinking about a few things you appreciate, even small things. Maybe you are healthy. Maybe you have opportunities to learn. Maybe you survived difficult times and kept moving forward. Gratitude creates emotional balance. And here are a few simple actions I want you to remember after today's episode. First, write one good thing about yourself every single day. Train your mind to notice your strengths, not only your weaknesses. Second, stop saying, "I can't," too quickly. Give yourself time to try before deciding what is impossible. And third, try before judging yourself. Many people decide they will fail before even beginning. Do not let fear make decisions for you. Remember, stopping self-undermining is not about becoming perfect. It is about building a healthier relationship with yourself, little by little. Small daily habits can slowly create more confidence, peace, and emotional strength. And over time, the way you speak to yourself today can completely change the way you live tomorrow. Now, before we move toward the ending of today's episode, I want us to slow down for a few moments and reflect deeply together. Sometimes life becomes so busy that we do not stop to listen to our own thoughts and emotions. We continue moving from one day to another without asking ourselves important questions. But real growth often begins with self-awareness. When we honestly look inside ourselves, we begin understanding what needs healing, what needs improvement, and what kind of relationship we truly have with our own minds. So wherever you are right now, if possible, take a slow breath and relax for a moment. You do not need to answer these questions perfectly. Just listen carefully and think honestly. Ask yourself this: how often do I criticize myself? Think about your daily thoughts. Think about the way you speak to yourself after making mistakes, during difficult situations, or when things do not go as planned. Do you encourage yourself, or do you attack yourself emotionally? Many people are much harsher with themselves than they realize. Now ask yourself another important question. What negative sentence do I repeat most often inside my mind? Maybe it is, I am not good enough. Maybe it is, I always fail. Maybe it is, others are better than me. Or maybe it is something else. Whatever the sentence is, try to notice it clearly. Because repeated thoughts slowly become beliefs, and beliefs slowly shape our lives. Then ask yourself something hopeful. What would happen if I believed in myself a little more? Think about that carefully. What opportunities would you try? What fears would you face? Would you speak more confidently? Would you practice English more freely? Would you finally start something you have been avoiding for a long time? Sometimes people are capable of much more than they imagine, but fear and self-doubt stop them before growth even begins. Now think about one small step you can take today. Not next year, not someday in the future. Today. Maybe you can practice speaking English for 10 minutes without worrying too much about mistakes. Maybe you can stop comparing yourself to others for one day. Maybe you can replace one negative thought with a kinder one. Small steps may seem simple, but small steps repeated consistently can slowly change a person's life. And finally, ask yourself this question: what strengths do I already have? Many people focus so much on weaknesses that they completely ignore their positive qualities. But every person has strengths. Maybe you are patient. Maybe you are hardworking. Maybe you are kind to others. Maybe you continue trying even after difficult experiences. Maybe you are stronger than you realize. Sometimes people become so focused on what they are missing that they forget how far they have already come. They forget the difficult moments they survived. They forget the progress they already made. They forget the courage it took to continue moving forward during painful times. These reflection questions are important because self-awareness creates change. When you begin noticing your thoughts, your habits, and your emotional patterns, you slowly become more conscious of the way you treat yourself. And once you become aware of something, you can begin improving it. Remember, the goal is not to judge yourself during this reflection. The goal is to understand yourself better. Growth does not begin with hatred. Growth begins with honesty, patience, and awareness. So after today's episode, I encourage you to spend a little quiet time with yourself. Think about these questions deeply. Write your thoughts down if you want. Be honest about your fears, your struggles, and your hopes. Because sometimes the most important conversations in life are the quiet conversations we have with ourselves. And now, as we slowly come to the end of today's episode, I want you to remember something very important. You are still growing. No matter where you are in life right now, your story is not finished yet. Maybe you still struggle with confidence. Maybe you still doubt yourself sometimes. Maybe you still feel afraid of failure, judgment, or mistakes. But none of these things mean you are weak or hopeless. They simply mean you are human. Growth takes time. Real change happens slowly, quietly, and step by step. Many people think they must become perfect before they can feel proud of themselves. But perfection is not the goal. Nobody lives a perfect life. Nobody grows without mistakes. Nobody feels confident every single day. What truly matters is continuing to move forward, even slowly. Please do not forget this. Your value is real, even during difficult seasons of life. Your worth does not disappear because you make mistakes. Your value does not become smaller because someone else is more successful, more confident, or more experienced than you. You are not useless because you are still learning. You are not a failure because your journey is taking time. Sometimes people spend so many years criticizing themselves that they forget how much strength they already carry inside. They forget the painful moments they survived. They forget the effort they continue making every day. They forget how many times they stood back up after difficult experiences. And maybe that is one of the most important lessons from today's episode. Do not become your own enemy. Life already has challenges. The world can already be difficult sometimes. So your mind should become a safe place, not a battlefield. The voice inside your mind should not constantly destroy your confidence, your peace, and your hope. Instead, try to build a healthier relationship with yourself. Speak to yourself with more patience. Respect your effort. Believe in your ability to grow slowly. Even if your progress feels small, it still matters. Even if you are moving slowly, you are still moving. Some people quit because they think slow growth means failure. But slow growth is still growth. One small step every day can completely change a person's life over time. Believe in your growth. Believe that you can improve. Believe that you can become emotionally stronger, more confident, and more peaceful little by little. You do not need to become a completely different person overnight. You only need to continue learning, practicing, and refusing to give up on yourself. And remember this too, your voice matters. Your dreams matter. Your journey matters. There are things only you can experience, learn, and share in your own unique way. So do not silence yourself because of fear. Do not hide your potential because of self-doubt. The world does not need a perfect version of you. It needs the real version of you that continues growing honestly and courageously. So after listening to today's episode, I hope you become a little gentler with yourself. I hope you stop speaking to yourself with constant negativity and disrespect. I hope you begin noticing your strengths, your effort, and your progress more often. And most importantly, I hope you stop undermining yourself before life even gives you a chance to grow. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today here on Code Your English. I truly appreciate every single listener who joins these conversations to improve not only their English skills, but also their mindset and personal growth. I hope this episode helped you practice your listening, learn new vocabulary, and reflect more deeply about the way you treat yourself. Please continue practicing English every single day, even if it is only for a short time. Small daily practice creates big improvement over time. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep learning, and most importantly, keep believing in your ability to grow. And if you enjoyed this episode, I warmly invite you to listen to more episodes on Code Your English, where we learn English together, while also talking about confidence, communication, personal growth, mindset, and life lessons in simple and easy English. Take care of yourself, be patient with your journey, and remember this final message: never undermine yourself, because the person you are becoming still has so much potential waiting to grow.